The end is here as the Stranger Things Season 5 finale debuted on New Year's Eve. Not only was it the end of Season 5, but it was billed as the finale for the entire series, as was the case for all the marketing of Season 5, highlighting it as one last adventure. To add to the spectacle, fans had the opportunity to either watch the finale at home like normal, or check it out in movie theaters. For me, there was no way I was going to miss the chance to watch the finale on the big screen with a bunch of riled up fans. And like the Season 4 finale, this was going to be a 2-hour long episode. So watching it on the big screen was going to be justified as it was essentially a feature-length movie. Hell, I would have watched it on the big screen even if it was the normalish hour and 15-minute episode that Stranger Things normally is. Now to set things up, I had very much been enjoying Season 5. Its story and scale was appropriate for a series that had gotten as big as Stranger Things, and I enjoyed seeing the character arcs and dynamics reaching their natural conclusion. Nailing the ending for any series is always tricky, as not everyone is going to be completely satisfied with how things are resolved and what could have been. Before I talk about the actual finale, spoiler-ish free by the way, this felt like a mega event. Despite it being New Year's Eve and all the shenanigans associated with that day, my theater lobby was packed with Stranger Things fans with their merchandise, and the actual auditorium was all the way filled by the time the episode started. I knew it was going to be like this as I saw how fast tickets were getting gobbled up when they first all went on sale. Personally, I absolutely live for these kind of mega movie events. That kind of hyped audience, enthusiasm, anticipation for how the story will play out, the fate of the characters, and other surprises make for the most memorable experiences. Over the last 7 years, it's been Marvel movies that have dominated these kind of experiences, with the trio of Endgame, No Way Home, and Deadpool and Wolverine. The kind of movie events where you buy your tickets as soon as they become available. The only thing that would have made this finale experience better would have been the opportunity to watch it in IMAX as Dolby. That wasn't the case here, but it was still a decent sized auditorium with a packed crowd. It was definitely surreal to be at the movies and see that Netflix logo and hear the sound effect that goes with it. But after the normal 25 minutes of trailers, the finale began at 6:30. In the Stranger Things finale, it's now or never for the Hawkins gang to defeat Vecna or the world will be destroyed. I'm gonna do my best not to go into black and white story spoilers. I'll save that for an actual spoiler review. This is gonna be a surface level review, so no mega spoilers, although I might talk about certain things enough to where you definitely should be careful if you haven't seen the finale. To be honest, if you're interested in watching the finale, you shouldn't be watching a review for it beforehand. With as much monster, world-ending type spectacle as there was here, like the previous episodes, it was the character moments that were the best here, especially because various subplots and storylines were coming to an end. Of course, there's meaningful stuff between Eleven and Hopper given the whole doomsday scenario here. I like that there was a moment for Mike and Will to acknowledge the latter's reveal in the previous episode, and what it meant for both of them going forward. The most noteworthy character moment was between Jonathan and Steve. After a great crowd cheering moment between the two, I never would have expected the whole Nancy Team Jonathan or Team Steve story to end that way. But it was a conclusion that at least all the characters could feel good about, and the fans too, not just for the aforementioned love triangle, but that whole group of young adults in Nancy, Jonathan, Steve, and Robin. It was very nicely done. It's a testament to the likability from everyone and great performances that you could care for a group of 80s kids and teens as much as the Avengers. The finale made time for all the notable characters to shine, with the one big exception being Erica. Seriously, what the f*** was that? I noticed the character had a reduced role compared to everyone else in Volume 2, but I'd figured they would have something worthwhile for her to do in the finale. But her role and the amount of screen time here was just pathetic. I'm not saying she deserves the same billing as the core 4 boys or 11, but that was embarrassing for the character what was done here. Getting into the actual plot, the Saving the World story lives up to what was shown at the end of Volume 2, in traveling to Vecna's mega lair, which is in the skies of the Upside Down. I wasn't crazy about that explanation for the Upside Down in the previous episode, but no going back on that now. I think the actual Upside Down looked a lot cooler and cinematic than the actual real home of Vecna, which had an uglyish piss yellow aesthetic to it that I don't think looked the best on the big screen. The actual progression of the mission had great ups and downs. It was cool seeing the actual plan come together. Speaking of plans, thank God this final episode didn't have one of those terrible group huddle scenes where characters are able to be super geniuses about anything on the spot. I had my fill of those scenes in Volume 2, and had I had to watch another one of those scenes on the big screen, I would have shouted bullshit in that auditorium. But yeah, seeing the grand plan come together was cool. It felt really tense though when things started to go sideways. There's a great mind trick played on one of the characters that definitely had me and everyone else in the auditorium fooled. It involved bullets, if you're wondering what scene I'm talking about. But this led to a series of uh-oh moments. These moments had me on the edge of my seat. It was so good because Vecna is already a handful to deal with, but the best opposition actually came from the military guys. With how they go about their business, it's not exactly hard to root against them. This is where watching this in the theaters with the crowd really elevated the experience, because of those crowd cheering moments in terms of those hero moments and seeing bad guys get their ass whooped. There had to be a total of at least 10 applause cheer type moments, and these were genuine cheers, not a Minecraft clap and cheer at anything kind of moments. My favorite crowd cheering moment was one that involved Holly and Derek. That was just an amazing reaction. It just edged out a great crowd cheering moment with Jonathan and Steve that was amazing also. Plenty of great moments in there that made it a blast of an experience, but those kind of cheering moments are nicely balanced with the more somber scenes, where it feels that way because there's added meaning because this is the end, and the situations at hand were naturally more somber. I legit heard a lot of sniffling, ugly-faced tears in that auditorium after some notable moments. I think they almost made a disastrous creative choice with Vecna. Got to see a little of what was teased of his childhood as Henry in Volume 2. But the entire series was no joke about to be ruined. Had they gone in the direction it seemed like they were going with Vecna, it would have been just awful writing, but thankfully cooler heads prevailed. That's about as far as I can go into the story without spoiling the shit out of it. Now, I was aware of this episode's 2-hour runtime going in. As mentioned before, Season 4 had a finale that was actually a little bit longer. This will be a vague timing-wise spoiler, so take that what you will. But when the main conflict had happened, I looked at my watch and realized, is this actually going to be a 2-hour episode? Because there's still seemingly a lot of time left. It turns out there was a lot of time left, because this episode has an extended ending section to wrap things up, having what feels like 10 scenes that could have been the actual ending scene. This section felt like it took at least 40-ish minutes. Return of the King started this trend where epic finales feel like they gotta have like 12 different ending scenes. My surface level issue is that I was expecting a longer duration of the conflict driven story, like Season 4's finale, which did live up to that runtime. In fairness, the extra time devoted to the ending was warranted, because what this means for the end of the series and all the characters. And the collection of scenes were beautiful. Although there was one scene that was a big missed opportunity to include a lot of the characters from the series' endgame style, and I was surprised it didn't go that route. I was baffled by how the military story ended. The closure on that was pretty horrific. There was great poetry to the actual ending scene, which was beautiful. I don't think the finale got everything perfect, but it did what it needed to do to work as a nice conclusion. And that experience in the auditorium was absolutely one of my all-time favorites. I definitely liked it, had a real good time, but that's about the level I can say for now. I'd have more to say that I'd have to say for a spoiler review, which hopefully will come soonish, TBD on that. Stranger Things as a franchise will probably never ever really be done. It's such a cultural juggernaut with how it appeals to all ages, and it does have confirmed spin-offs in development. I just hope they leave these characters from this Vecna saga alone for a while, so this ending can actually work as an ending for at least a good amount of time. So that'll do it for this review of Stranger Things, the finale. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you for watching.